What's up, Falcons Nation? It's your boy Jew coming at you with another Atlanta Falcons video. As always, Falcons Nation, rise up. In today's video, I would like to give you guys my post-game thoughts on today's matchup against the Minnesota Vikings. But if you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you know when I've done Atlanta Falcons content. Hit that like button for your boy. I do appreciate each and every one of you guys for your continued support, continuing to share out my content on all the social media platforms. If you'd like to follow your boy on Twitter and Instagram, you can follow me at Jew Talk Sports. If you'd like to donate to my channel, you can donate to my Cash App, which is the $ Jew Talk Sports. And if you'd like to be a part of my Jew Talk Sports membership, you can hit that join tab here on the channel as well. But with that being said, let's jump right into the video. So as I've mentioned in today's video, do want to give you guys my post-game thoughts on today's loss to the Minnesota Vikings. My Falcons now sit at 4-5 on the season. We are now second in the NFC South because the New Orleans Saints did win today, so they're 5-4, and we're now a game behind the Saints. Good news is we still control our own destiny because we still have 2 games against the Saints, and right now we are 2-0 in the NFC South. But we definitely are going to have to get back on the right track. But today was an embarrassing loss for our Atlanta Falcons. For us to lose to Josh Dobbs in the Minnesota Vikings, he actually was just traded for at the trade deadline this week, traded from the Arizona Cardinals to the Minnesota Vikings. We knock out their rookie quarterback, Jaron Hall, earlier in the game, in the first quarter of the game. And Josh Dobbs, who hadn't practiced with the Minnesota Vikings team, came out and basically took over this game and was able to, to beat our Atlanta Falcons in this game and lead the Minnesota Vikings to this victory. But it's a lot of things that I want to touch on in this video, some things that were really disappointing. The first thing that I noticed in this game is Arthur Smith and Dave Ragone and the offense is continuing to struggle in the red zone. We're not doing a good job of feeding Tyler Algier. We're not doing a good job of feeding Cordell Patterson and Bijan Robinson in the red zone. We have to do a better job at being more physical and going downhill as we did late in the game in the red zone. It was numerous times in the first half where I believe Younghoe Koo had 2 or 3 field goals when we were in the red zone, and we couldn't punch it in because we refused to run the ball when we got close to the goal line. Last season, we were really good at running the ball in between the tackles. When we would get to the goal line, we were really good at punching it in for touchdowns. And for whatever reason, this season, Arthur Smith, when we get down in the red zone, both him and Dave Ragone are doing a bad job of scheming up plays to get guys open. But I really feel like Arthur Smith and Dave Ragone are overthinking when we get in the red zone. Just line up in the I formation or line up with a fullback and allow those guys to just punch the ball in the end zone, run downhill. And it seems like for whatever reason, when we get in the goal line or we get in the red zone, we continue to try to throw the ball instead of just running the ball and punching it in. When you get close in the red zone and it's very condensed with all of those players in the end zone, it's hard to throw the football in those condensed formations. So I really feel like the closer you get to the end zone, the harder it is to throw the football because those windows become really, really tight down in the red zone when you're inside the 10 and the 5-yard line. And that's when you have to use your physicality, your ability to move another man against his will. We have to get back to running the football with our Atlanta Falcons. The second thing that I noticed in this game was the quarterback change. We all know that Desmond Ridder was benched for Taylor Heinicke. I mentioned this all week long heading into this game, that I didn't think that this was the right move going to Taylor Heinicke over Desmond Ridder, and that showed in this game. I didn't see a tremendous jump in ability from Desmond Ridder to Taylor Heinicke. Taylor Heinicke had a bad interception in this game, and he could have thrown multiple interceptions in this game. But the Minnesota Vikings basically dropped a couple of opportune interceptions, but he threw the ball numerous times in the coverage where guys could have intercepted the ball, and he overshot multiple wide receivers and tight ends in this game as well. So I really feel like this was another problem in this game, us going to Taylor Heineke, because I mentioned this previously. Because they went to Taylor Heineke, this team doesn't have that familiarity. These wide receivers and tight ends, they don't have familiarity in game time decisions or game like situations with Taylor Heineke. They don't have the chemistry with him because they've been playing with Desmond Ritter all year long, and we're at this point at the ninth game of the season. I really feel like it was a bad time to try to move on from Desmond Ritter in the middle of the season. It's hard to do that when you have a backup quarterback, and we have a lot of wide receivers and running backs and tight ends on this team. We play a lot of different guys, a lot of different formations. And in this game, I didn't see a tremendous jump as far as Taylor Heineke making throws that Desmond Ritter can't make. I really feel like it was a mistake for Arthur Smith and Dave Ragone and this coaching staff to go move on from Desmond Ritter and bench him and start Taylor Heineke in this game. And we seen that it didn't make a difference. Everybody talked about last week against the Titans how Taylor Heineke came in the game and scored 20 plus points in that second half, and we didn't see that carry over. I keep telling you guys that it's a week-to-week league. The NFL is a week-to-week league, and you can't look at what happened in the previous game and think that that's going to carry over to the next game. And we've seen in this game, I told you guys, having a backup quarterback come in the middle of a game is a totally different thing than naming him as the starter in that next week where a team has all week long to prepare for the backup as the starter. And we've seen this week that the Minnesota Vikings were ready for Taylor Heineke to play in this game, and they pretty much shut us out in the first half. We did get a bunch of field goals, but we didn't put up touchdowns, and that's similar to what we were seeing with Desmond Ritter. We talked about Desmond Ritter being benched because of him turning the ball over, and we've seen Taylor Heineke as a veteran turning the ball over. We've seen him putting the ball in harm's way. We've seen him overthrowing wide receivers and tight ends and running backs. The same thing we were seeing with Desmond Ritter. And at this point, I really feel like the Atlanta Falcons and Arthur Smith should go back to Desmond Ritter. See what you have in Desmond Ritter. Desmond Ritter has 4 comeback victories or comeback wins this season. He's played well for the most part all season long outside of the turnovers. But I continue to tell you guys that it wasn't just Desmond Ritter with the turnovers. We've seen it in this game. Bijan Robinson have a crucial fumble while we had the lead in this game. We've seen Taylor Heineke come right behind Bijan Robinson with throwing an interception. So that's something that's plagued this Atlanta Falcons team all year long, was the turnovers and were the penalties. And we've seen today more penalties out of the offensive line, a lot of false starts, a lot of pre-snap penalties, and that could be a multitude of things, a multitude of reasons why you were seeing that. Whether it was a new quarterback coming in with different cadences and these guys are not comfortable with Taylor Heineke. Also, it could be the play calling, and then it could just be poor coaching and poor execution. All of those things, played a part in this game today. But I continue to say, with this Atlanta Falcons team, that this team is not far off from a lot of these wins. Pretty much every game we played this season has come down to the last possession or been one possession type games, but we have to figure out a way to close out these games. Another thing that I noticed today with the defense, this was the first time this season where I can say that this team didn't tackle well. The defense didn't make open field tackles. We allowed Josh Dobbs to get outside of the pocket multiple times in this game, and he was able to take advantage of this Atlanta Falcons defense coming up with some key scrambles in this game. If we make 1 or 2 tackles in this game, the game is over. At the end of the game on 4th down, Bud Dupree pretty much has them wrapped up. He's holding on for dear life, trying to make a sack, trying to dive out, and trip them up. Josh Dobbs escapes, runs down the sideline and gets them, back in the red zone where they were able to punch it in for a touchdown to win the game. But it came down to a couple crucial times in this game where the defense allowed Joshua Dobbs to get outside of the pocket, and he was able to make plays with his legs. Even though, he's new to their offense, he was a veteran in today's game and very smart in this game, that he was able to pull the ball down in crucial situations and use his legs to escape and get key first downs for them in this game. And we talked about it pretty much the last 2 seasons when this Atlanta Falcons team lost close games. We talked about, finishing games, finishing plays, and we're just not seeing it out of this Atlanta Falcons team. Now, another thing that I think that's played a key component on the offense of why we're continuing to struggle on the offensive side of the ball is that Arthur Smith is not putting these players in positions to succeed. I keep talking about, us being a run first type team, us being a physical team in the trenches. And for whatever reason, he's not running Tyler Algier early in these games. He's not allowing us, allowing our offensive line to be physical. And that's what they do best. They're not great in pass protection and pass pro. This team is a run first team. So I really feel like moving forward, we have to get back to our Atlanta Falcons identity. The last drive of the game, the last drive that we scored on, when Tyler Algier was able to, we took the lead and Tyler Algier pretty much ran the ball down their throats. That's Atlanta Falcons football, being able to tee off, allowing our offensive line to tee off on the defensive line, allowing those guys to flow downhill and putting the lead blocker in front of Tyler Algier and allowing him to go downhill. That's how we played the last 2 seasons, and that's the way that Arthur Smith likes to coach and likes to scheme up things. So I really feel like we have to get back to our roots. We have to stop trying to be so pass happy and throwing the ball down the field, and get back to what our roots is as far as being physical in the trenches, wearing opposing defenses out in the trenches. And I really feel like that will bode well. If we want to win the game next week against Arizona, I really feel like the key to this game coming up against Arizona was the same key to this game, that which I mentioned against the Vikings, was going to be to run the football, to put pressure on their defensive line and not allow those guys to tee off on Taylor Heineke. But I really feel like in next week's game and moving forward, we have to get back to what our Atlanta Falcons identity is, which is being physical in the trenches on both sides of the ball. The games that we won earlier this season, we ran the ball. We were very physical in the trenches. And I really feel like if you add Desmond Ridder back to the starter as a starting quarterback, you'll see, more quarterback runs and design runs, which bodes well for both, not only the offensive line, but that also bodes well for the running backs. It gives the defense more things to worry about. When you have a quarterback that can actually run and you're doing design runs, it puts a lot of pressure on the defense for those guys to have multiple assignments. The linebacker at that point knows that he has to pick up, Desmond Ridder or whoever the running quarterback is. And also it makes those defensive ends and defensive linemen, they have to hold, stay outside. They can't crash down on the running back. When you have a quarterback that's a threat to run and get to the edge, similar to what Josh Dobbs was doing today, it slows down that pass rush, because guys that's on the edge has to keep their lane integrity. They have to stay outside. They can't just crash in on our running backs in the running game. So I really feel like it's going to be important this week coming up that the Falcons get back to their roots on offense. I really feel like bringing Desmond Ridder back as the starter would be the best move at this point, because to me, in this game, I really feel like Desmond Ridder possibly would have been the better fit at quarterback in this game. And to me, he played, from the games that he's played so far this season, he looked like the more accurate quarterback. He's definitely the more athletic quarterback. And at this point, he's just better than Taylor Heineke. Let's just keep it a buck. Taylor Heineke's not a bad quarterback, but he's just a backup. At the end of the day, he's a backup quarterback. He's a journeyman quarterback. He's a guy that can come in during games and give you a spark, but he's not a guy that's a starting quarterback in the NFL. And with that being said, you guys give me your thoughts on today's game. You guys give me your thoughts on Desmond Ridder, Taylor Heineke, and what's your thoughts of who should be the starter moving forward. Personally, I think they need to go back to Desmond Ridder. But with that being said, I have a lot more content coming for you guys. As always, Falcons Nation, rise up, be blessed. Peace.